Are you guys ready? This is going to be exciting. I'm so excited to have Rob Jacobs here with StandWithUs Northwest. He's the one that really spearheaded the effort to stop the bus ads in Seattle, and I know many of us here were part of that and helping him. That's right. And of course, our guest speaker tonight, we had passed out a flyer. Many of you are aware of his bio because we had printed your bio and passed it out to everybody. And let's welcome Ron Bar-Yoshafat. All right, Rob, we are going to turn it over to you now.
I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you so much, because today in particular, and Ron may tell you about it, has been a really tough day. Six classes in a row that Ron spoke to with a Palestinian speaker paired up with him, and some of the most amazing lies and misrepresentations told with such a sincere face. And unfortunately, this is something that's happening throughout the Northwest. We know of anti-Israel speakers who have been speaking at high schools all the way from Vancouver, almost up to Vancouver. And Ron is here in Seattle because we needed to respond to it at StandWithUs. We had trained a number of people to go out to high schools to speak, but there is, and you'll see tonight, there's a huge difference between hearing somebody like me get up and talk in front of a high school class of 17, 16-year-olds who are looking at me, and I'm, an old guy now, I hate to admit it, and, the difference between that and hearing somebody who grew up there, whose life is there, his persona, his everything is Israeli, and he's a lot closer in age and has the experiences to share. And Ron has been doing a powerful job in the Pacific Northwest and also in Northern California. And we're really thrilled to be here today to have an audience so supportive after having to go through a day that we've just gone through. Every single day we end up dealing with this sort of ugly anti-Israel activity in one form or another. And I have to tell you, a number of my friends have said, why do you have this job? Why do you keep this job? And it's because it needs to be done. And it's because people like you, are so essential to what we're able to accomplish. When we learned about the bus ads and we sent out an alert by email, thousands of people responded, and that had a huge effect on Metro and the King County folks. And without it, if we had just sent 25 emails, they would have ignored it, and those bus ads would have run. So we're sending around, and I'm not sure where they are right now, but hopefully they'll be passing by you, sign-up sheets. Please sign up. We'll get you on our mailing list. We promise not to overwhelm you with emails, but we'll send out when an alert, when something bad is happening. We'll also tell you what's been going on and what StandWithUs is working on. If you want to get involved and volunteer, we could use the help. We really could. And we'll get in touch with you within days afterwards to say, if you want to volunteer, here are opportunities, and to see whether you're interested. But right now, you came to hear Ron. After Ron's done speaking, what I want to talk to you briefly about is how you can help us specifically in the next couple of weeks. And in particular, as you listen to Ron, think about high schools, think about churches, think about places where you have some contact where you might be able to help us to get him an opportunity to speak. So let me introduce Ron Bar-Yoshafat. He's our StandWithUs fellow and our shaliach, our emissary from Israel for this year.
Wow. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I had a very difficult day, and I'm not used to getting this much support from the Pacific Northwest. I am really happy to be here. This is wonderful. This is the most supportive audience that I've had. I want to begin by opening my presentation so you will understand why I'm here. I saw this picture on Facebook. And it said that this is an Israeli soldier and a Palestinian girl. And if you have a heart and you see this picture, you must think, oh, Israel is probably a horrible, horrible country. There's just one tiny problem. This is not an Israeli soldier. This is not an Israeli gun, or coat, or glove, or pants, or boots. There is one problem, however. The only people who were aware of it are Israelis. And if you're not from Israel, you don't know. In fact, you guys still don't know. Maybe I'm not honest. Well, I was fortunate to get the real picture, the full picture. This is not even in Israel. The people couldn't care less about what is going on. The Israeli flag is a piece of paper rolling off. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen an army in the world that says, "Hi, I'm from this country," on their coat. You don't do that. Not in the Israeli army, not in any army. So that's why I'm here. I'm here from Israel to combat that. I have a life in Israel. I'm currently getting my master's in business from the Tel Aviv University, and I put everything on hold because I'm tired of people spreading lies about my country. So I'll come here and I'll tell the truth. Now, I know that this is probably also the most educated audience that I've ever spoken with. Usually when I go to high school students, I need to begin by saying, where is America? Where is Israel? So I will go very briefly over this. I just also want you to see what I'm telling high school students, because usually they have no idea. So I talk about where we are in America and how tiny Israel is, that you cannot even see it on this map. Even though it's a big screen, you cannot see Israel on this map. So I zoom into the Middle East. And basically, even after I've zoomed in on two giant screens, you cannot see Israel because it's this small. Another way of looking at Israel is the yellow dot, the tiny yellow dot. And all of the green countries surrounding Israel are Arab countries. We also have Iran and Turkey there to the right and above. They're not Arab countries, they're Muslim countries. So people will understand by background, what is my neighborhood, where I'm coming from. This is where I'm coming from. Also, what is very important to tell the high school students is the size of Israel. You see, if I will put all of Israel into Washington State, I can fit it several times. So this is how I begin my presentation, and then I try to go, I will go with this very brief, because I know you guys know this. I teach them a little bit about history. I think it's very important for everyone to know a little bit of history. So I tell them how thousands of years ago, there was a Jewish kingdom in the land of Israel. Different emperors came, exiled most of the Jews out of the land of Israel, most of the Jews. There was always, thank God, Jewish continuity in the land of Israel. The Romans renamed that area Palestine. The British divided that area into Jordan and Palestine. The United Nations had a partition plan to divide the country into two. The Jews, just wanting to live in peace, accepted the offer. The Arabs rejected the offer. And then we had our war of independence. During that war, even though Israel had to fight so many countries, including far countries like Iraq and Sudan and Saudi Arabia, Israel has prevailed and actually received more land. After this, we had several more wars. The most famous one is the Six-Day War, when Israel has quadrupled its size, again, even after fighting so many countries. And then we had some peace treaties. Right now, the situation in Israel is that we have several areas that are disputed. We withdraw from the Gaza Strip. In return, we received 13,000 rockets. We withdraw from the southern part of Lebanon. In return, we received Hezbollah, a terrorist organization. And that is the situation. Israel, even though it's a tiny country in the Middle East, is like an oasis in the Middle East. It's beautiful. Thank God we have some ancient sites that have been there for thousands of years and have not been changed. And we also have high-tech cities, big buildings, fast lanes, beautiful markets. No offense, the weather is much nicer in Israel, as I'm sure you probably know. Even though Israel is the only Jewish state in the world, not only Jewish people live in Israel. Jews, Christians, Muslims, Druze, Baha'i, everyone can live in Israel because we are a vibrant democracy. I want to focus on the first row. The second to the right is an Israeli Arab. He's also a Supreme Court judge. The reason why I'm focusing on this person is because, don't judge me, but I'm a lawyer. I received my law degree from him, from the Hebrew University. He's the one that gave me my diploma. Now, I don't know if you can notice on this picture or if you can notice on me, this is considered to be very elegant in Israel. We're very casual. Also for my graduation, no suit, no tie. This is how you dress. This is as fancy as it gets, unless it's your wedding day. And just to emphasize this, this is me at my friend's wedding. I'm the guy at the bottom. There's someone above me, and the guy who got married is on top. Because this is the people of Israel. We're fun people. We like to have fun. We like to enjoy life. This is me when I was younger. As you can see, I was very active in sports. I did a thing called MMA, Mixed Martial Arts. And I was actually very good in this. I was the national champion of Israel in the years 99 and 2000. That's me in the back. I'm not sure if you can see on the screen. Mixed martial arts is a combination of karate, Muay Thai, boxing, free fighting, and it came very handy later on in my life when I served in the Israeli army. This is me when I was in high school. I'm the guy to your left, and the guy to your right is my best friend in the world, Ro'i. And I want to focus on this picture for a second because I think it's important to understand the people who live in Israel. You see, Ro'i and myself, we have really different backgrounds. I'm the grandchild of Holocaust survivors from both sides of my family. One of my grandmas was sent into Siberia, Russia, to a work camp to do forced labor. She was a slave. My other grandma was sent into Auschwitz, a death camp. Somehow, miraculously, they made it to Israel. The rest of their families were murdered. Ro'i has a whole different life story. Ro'i is an Iraqi Jew. His family has lived in Iraq for thousands of years. And after years of suffering for violence, eventually they kicked him out of Iraq. And the same thing happened to about 900,000 Jews who came from all of the Arab countries surrounding Israel. Luckily for my family and for Ro'i's family, there was always Jewish continuity in the land of Israel and communities that were able to take us into the country. This is a typical picture of my hometown, Ramat HaSharon. Beautiful place, right up north of Tel Aviv. Usually when people talk about Israel, they think about either Jerusalem, the holy city, or Tel Aviv, more of a party town, secular area. And if you'll ask the average Israeli, where do you live? He'll tell you he lives either close to Jerusalem or close to Tel Aviv. They're not lying. We're a tiny country. It's either close to Jerusalem or to Tel Aviv. And, you know, I had a pretty normal high school life, hanging out with my friends, going to the movies, going to the beach. And I want to stop here for a second and say something. There is a good reason why Israel and America usually go hand in hand. Democracy, freedom, liberty, justice. Does that sound familiar? These are the core values of America. These are also the core values of Israel. We have mutual values. This is why Israel and America usually go hand in hand. But it has another level. You see, the only reason why I'm speaking English, it's not very educational to say, but it's because I watched a lot of television when I was growing up. I grew up watching American television. Why am I telling you this? Because I want you to understand that my high school life and the high school life of an average American is very same. It's very much the same. But there's one thing that's very different. And that is this. What you're seeing here is a bus after it was exploded. It's a public bus. The same type of buses that I used to get on to go to school, to visit my friends, to go to the beach, to go to the mall. And what would happen is that a terrorist would put explosives underneath his clothes. He would wrap the explosives with nails and sharp metal objects. He would go on the bus, wait until it's packed with women and children, and then he would detonate himself, taking his own life and the life of as many people as possible with him. And this happened when I was in high school, a period of time that we refer to as, I'm sure you know, the Second Intifada, between the years 2000 and 2005. This did not happen once every couple of months. This happened every day. And not just on buses, in coffee shops, in pizza places, in schools, in shopping malls. We stopped taking buses. It would be irrational to go on a bus. We wouldn't even stand in a bus stop, because what happens in a bus stop? You have a crowd of people. It might be dangerous to stand there. It might be a good target for the terrorist. And it is very strange in a way, because when I was younger, I didn't have any problem with the Palestinians. By the way, I still don't have any problem with the Palestinians. I have a problem with their government, Hamas, a terrorist organization that has in their charter, their constitution, says, kill all the Jews from the Mediterranean Sea to the Jordan Valley. That's what I have a problem with. But the Palestinians, I would go to their villages, they would visit me at my school, I would buy at their markets. The enemy when I was growing up was Hezbollah. I'm filled with nice neighbors. I had a problem with Hezbollah, a terrorist organization in Lebanon. They would fire rockets at Israel. That was the enemy. Palestinians, I didn't really have a problem with, but that changed during the Second Intifada. In Israel, after you finish high school, you go into the Israeli army. There's a draft. It's mandatory. What you probably don't know is that 90% out of the members of the Israeli army are non-combatant. 90% out of the people who join the Israeli army don't do combat. Now, boys in the Israeli army usually serve for 3 years. Girls usually serve for 2 years. Both can do combat. But most of the army, they do intelligence, they're in educational corps, they do welfare work. It's a part of the system where everyone has to chip in and help. Only 10% serve in combat. And only 10% out of this 10% are in special forces. Now, for high schoolers, I always have to say 10% out of 10%, it's 1%, just to make sure that we're on the same page. That means that only 1% out of the whole Israeli army is in the special forces. Now, what do I mean by the special forces? The people who have the most amount of training, and they are in the heat of the action. I want to tell you a little bit about my army service. I began at the pilot's course. I had no desire to become a pilot, but I felt that if you can, then you should, because you need to contribute to the country. And I was a very, very good soldier. I was good in almost everything except this tiny, tiny detail, which was actually flying the plane. I was horrible at that, so they said, we're sorry, you cannot continue with us. And I began a new chapter in my life in the Special Forces. In the Special Forces, I got a chance to meet my best friends for life, the same people that I went to basic training with, and advanced training and combat, and I still serve every year between 1 to 2 months, depending on what I'm needed, in the Israeli Army Reserves, with the best friends I've ever had. Throughout my basic training and advanced training, I did all sorts of interesting things. Jumping out of airplanes, working with jeeps and helicopters, learning about different weapon systems. I was also sent to learn a little bit about radio equipment. That's where I met Jonathan. He was a non-combatant. His job in the army was to teach people how to use the radio, and I was with him at his course. And when you meet someone who's about your age, usually you become friends with him. You have lunch together. You talk about what you want to do when you grow up, when you're out of the army. One day, Jonathan was standing with his girlfriend. They were about to buy his girlfriend's mom a birthday present, and they were both killed. They were both killed in a blast with 5 other Israelis when they were standing in a bus stop outside of a hospital. Now, when I share this story to high school students and they see it, it's okay if it stops in that level. It's a sad story and it's a sad picture. In fact, in Israel, whenever there's a terror attack, it is always someone's cousin, someone's uncle, someone's brother. We're a small country. But sometimes it's even more than that. You see, sometimes the people that were killed are people that meant something to you, to your life. And I hope that you'll never have to understand what I'm about to show you. I actually have a list of all of the friends that I've lost. Now, these are not names. These are people that meant something to me, to my life. The reason why I have to have this list is because I have so many. You would imagine, if someone that was so close to you was killed, you would remember. But when you have so many, it's hard, and I don't ever want to forget. After I finished my training, I went into combat. Remember how I said I was the national champion for mixed martial arts? I'm out of shape now, but if anyone wants to wrestle, I can still put on a good fight. My job in combat was to be a hand-to-hand combat expert. My job was to capture terrorists. Now, what that meant is, because we were special forces, I would get my orders from the chief of staff. When I'm capturing a terrorist, I know what he looks like, I know his ID number, I know what he did, and I know what he plans on doing. And when I tell you I capture terrorists, I literally mean I would put my gun away and I would grab the person as fast as I can. And the reason why you have to grab the terrorist so fast is, well, you see, what I'm concerned about is that he might have explosives on him. These people don't care if they die as long as they can kill someone with them. So you can ask me, well, Ran, if that's the case, why do you capture him? Why don't you just shoot him? Well, besides the fact that not all terrorists have explosives on them at all time, it actually makes a lot of sense. If you have a chance to not kill someone, you'll do whatever you can to not kill him, even on the expense of risking your own life. These are the values of the Israeli army, these are the commands, and these are the rules of conduct, which I know is very different than what I'm hearing here in the Pacific Northwest, but that's the truth. And that's why I'm proud to be an Israeli. And I want to share 3 stories to emphasize this. 3 stories from my personal experience. The first story was when me and my friends from my team captured a terrorist that had an Israeli army uniform, an Israeli gun, and 150 pounds of explosives. Now his goal was obvious. He wanted to go into either a shopping mall or a school and explode. I'm not sure if you understand the concept of 150 pounds of explosives. It's a ridiculous amount of explosives. He had to put it in a big, low alpine bag. You cannot wrap yourself with this. And I'm not sure if you understand how easy it is to go into a shopping mall if you have an Israeli army uniform and an Israeli gun and a big bag. It looks like you're a soldier on vacation. So you can ask me, how did you capture this person? By the way, 150 pounds of explosives, God forbid. If it was set off here, this is a very big hall, but this whole place is gone. So how did we capture this guy? Did we drop a bomb from the air? Did we enter with tanks? Well, no. What you do is that you go to his neighborhood in the middle of the night, one line, by foot. Because you know that that is the only way that you can capture this guy and this guy alone, and not anyone around him that's not involved. And what goes on in the back of your mind when you're doing this is that behind every window, there might be another terrorist just standing there waiting for you to go there so they can shoot you. Another story I want to share with you took place in a different area. 5 highly ranked terrorists were all in one car. And me and 3 of my friends were in an Israeli army jeep. And we spotted that car. And they saw that we spotted them. And they started driving and we started chasing them. And eventually we crashed, bam, face to face. And the 5 terrorists opened the door of the car and started running. And we opened the door of the jeep and we didn't shoot them. No, we were not worried about explosives. If they're running away from me, I don't care. No, there were no civilians around. Open field, just running down the hill. The reason why we didn't shoot and I didn't even have a dilemma, is because they were not shooting at me. They were unarmed and running away. The orders are clear. If my life is not a threat, I'm not allowed to shoot. 5 highly ranked terrorists. These are people who killed a lot of innocent people, and they want to kill more innocent people. I'm just going to have to wait for another day to capture them. Again, very different than what I've been hearing about the Israeli army in the picture in the beginning. The last story I want to share with you was when me and my friends had to capture 7 terrorists in a different perimeter. The second that we entered to that neighborhood, we were shot at from all angles. I could literally hear the bullets about 5 feet above my head. And it's nighttime, and it's dark, and when people are shooting at you, usually your body tries to be as small as you can. You're very, very focused. And my job was to break into a house, find the terrorist that was there, if necessary, shoot him, try to capture him. And when I kick down the door and I enter into the house, I see in front of me a little girl, a little Palestinian girl. She has nothing to do with the conflict. Now, this little girl was sacrificed. She was sacrificed, so when the Israeli army will enter and shoot her, it will portray the Israeli army as this horrible army. Well, luckily, all of my training is learning when to shoot and when not to shoot. So I'm standing there in this dark room in the middle of the night when people are shooting about 5 feet above my head, freezing. Well, what am I doing now? All of a sudden, I see terrorists shooting at this little girl from the window. Now, it's very easy to understand. Everyone who served in an army understands. Israelis and Americans, we use M16. Also, we shoot in single shots. Bam, bam, bam. That's how it sounds when it's our fire. Terrorists use AK-47 and they shoot on automatic. Very easy to tell the difference if you were in the army to know who's who. So it was very easy for me to understand what was going on. So I quickly ran, grabbed this little girl, pulled her over, using myself as a human shield because I had a bulletproof vest. And because I pulled her over next to me, the angle from the window, they were not able to shoot us. And I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. Where's the media now? Where's the media now? This little girl, we gave her all of her food. We gave her candy. We waited until a neighbor will come pick her up. And I thought this was a scenario that's not from this world. So I hope that these stories give you a better understanding of what is going on in the Israeli army. I want to tell you something. I've seen a lot of fighting going on in my life. I also fought in the war in 2006 against Hezbollah. My brigade were the brigade that went to the northwest part into Lebanon. We lost 10 men in that war. When I saw fighting in my life, it wasn't in a faraway country. It was in my own backyard. And it's a very, very small backyard. It's about 9 miles in some of its parts. I drove this evening more than this to come talk to you. And I'm not embarrassed of fighting, because when I'm fighting, I'm very proud of it. I'm fighting for my friends, my family, my home, and my country. And I'll continue to fight as long as I'm needed, because I'm doing the right thing. I usually like to finish my presentation in a more optimistic note. I have a life in Israel. Like I said, I'm a lawyer. I'm currently getting my master's in business. I like to organize different volunteer projects in Israel. But it's sometimes very hard for me to end this presentation in an optimistic note, because I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the media in America. I don't know, I guess in this audience people will know, but all of the schools that I went to, they had no idea that 2 weeks ago, 300,000 Israeli children were living in bomb shelters because over 250 rockets were fired from the Gaza Strip. Over 1 million Israelis were living in bomb shelters. Can you imagine if Canada would fire a rocket at Tacoma? You know what will happen? America will tell Canada, you have 1 day to fix it, or you're going to be our next state. And they'll be right to do so. And I couldn't hear, well, actually I did hear one thing about it. They said that Israel killed a civilian in Gaza. The status of that terrorist really upgraded to a civilian. This is the same person that was involved in the kidnapping of Gilad Shalit our POW that was recently released. He was involved in the murdering of 8 Israelis in the way to Eilat about 6 months ago, and in the murdering in Nachal Oz about 2 years ago. Civilian. Israel killed a civilian. 1 million people in bomb shelters were not mentioned. You know, Pesach is just around the corner, Passover. The whole story, every Jewish person is obligated to tell the story of leaving Egypt. What did we do? What is the story of leaving Egypt? It's going to the land of Israel. That's my story. And right now, I feel like I have to go to America and to again share the story of I'm leaving Egypt, I'm going to Israel. And I feel like sometimes it's almost like you have to apologize for it in the Pacific Northwest. Not here, thank God, not here, not here. No, I feel very nice, it's good. So it's very hard for me to finish this presentation with an optimistic note. Even this is a very supportive audience because I had to struggle in the Pacific Northwest, and I would like to show a short video, a couple of minutes, when I went to North California to try and speak. I wanted to share my experiences, something that's very close to what was happening here. North California, UC Davis, a very liberal area. If we can put the first video. Okay. Just before we begin, this happened less than a month and a couple of days ago at UC Davis, North California, a very liberal area, as you'll see. I had a Druze girl with me. Druze are a small religious and ethnic minority in Israel, and we just came and tried to share our experience and say, we're from Israel. I think that what you know about Israel is not true. We're here, talk to us. And this was the result.
Events like these are not welcome on our campus anymore. They moved it to Wellman, so we're headed to Wellman. What number?
Wellman 106.
Wellman 106? All right, so we'll continue over there.
My only purpose today is that this event is shut down. You have turned Palestine into a land of prostitutes, rapists, and child molesters.
At this university, we are proud to present the free exchange of ideas. At some campuses, groups or individuals believe that they have the right to disrupt the free assembly on a university campus because they disagree with the point of view being expressed. We truly hope that this is not the case here.
My name is Ran. I came to talk to you about Israel. Israel is a country in the Middle East. Right now we're here in America. I hope you know this. Salam alaikum ya habibi.
In my ways, I will stand here and I will heckle you until you leave. What are you doing? Yeah? How many women have you raped? How many children have you raped? You are a child molester.
I understand.
I will just talk uselessly, repeatedly, just for the sake of talking.
You know, when you accuse someone, usually you give him a right to defend himself. It's democracy. You let the defendant defend himself. What do you want? You want to kill me? What do you want?
I don't want to kill you.
So what do you want from me?
No.
Are you willing to speak to me?
No. I just want you to shut up and get out.
And that's your freedom and free world.
Yeah.
All right, great. So your free world is to kick me out of here.
No, it's just to kick you out of this room this night.
And if I stand in another room, will you kick me out of this room?
Yes.
Okay,
and
thank you
I will
very
keep
much
going
for showing
until
your
you get out
liberal
every
values.
single...
I appreciate you for exposing your true liberal values, and I'm going to continue with my presentation.
You're going to have to kill me to shut me up. Rapist, child molester, murderer.
Tell me your accusations. Listen to me. I'm standing here on trial. But please give me a chance to answer you. This is what I did. This is my friends. We captured a terrorist that had an Israeli army uniform, an Israeli gun, and 150 pounds of explosives.
Terrorists, they're superhuman.
I'm willing to stay here as long as you want me to stay after this. Talk to you one-on-one if you want to.
I apologize for my bad English because it's my third language. My native language is Arabic. And when I see them and I watch them, I see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Palestine.
Which station? Stand over back. Says there's no Palestine.
Not true. I didn't say that.
You don't need to remind me in the middle of my presentation.
God willing, in the future we will move it. Once people recognize Israel, once Israel recognizes the relevance. And these are liberal values, not letting someone speak. Or God willing, they don't want to be confused with the facts. Thank God. I've encountered a lot more of that than this supportive audience, unfortunately. People who are just unwilling to listen because they know that once I'll just have a sentence, I already won the argument. Because I don't eat Palestinian babies for breakfast. And if they see a person, then that kind of ruins their whole plot of portraying me as a monster. Now, if you didn't understand what was going on, they gathered almost 200 people. They wanted to take all of the hall and then stand up and walk out, leaving me with an empty audience. So people who are uneducated about Israel are not able to learn and hear about it. They changed the hall a couple of minutes before it began, so half of the hall was full, so they were only able to move half of the people away. And the main heckler there, he was, I find it very offensive. I'm not mad because he's just ignorant. He's just spreading lies, but I'm very, it's not easy to hear these accusations. But I have more of these experiences. And I want to say a couple more things. I think it's very important to say, in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the Palestinians are the underdog. I admit, my country is doing great. Thank God. In my country, we have less than 5% unemployment rate. We invented, the smartphones, the cell phones, the laptops. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize. People say, well, look how many casualties you have on the Palestinian side and how few casualties you have on the Israeli side. Well, first I think maybe we have some help. But I want to tell you something. It's not because of our Iron Dome system. For those who do not know, the Iron Dome is a system that fires a missile at the rocket that's being fired at Israel. It's not because of that. The main reason is because when people are attacking my people, we say, all the children go to the bomb shelters. That's why we have so few casualties. It makes sense. Civilians go away, soldiers come fight. The other side, well, they have a different way of doing things. And I want to show you one very, very short video, and I think it speaks for itself. What you're seeing here, this is literally using children as human shield. The terrorist grabs the child, runs with it. I cannot shoot him right now. And then he throws it. This is literally using children as human shields. Now, listen, I condemn the death of innocent people on both sides. I think it's horrible. I don't like it when innocent people die. And I know that war is hell. But there is a difference. There's a difference in the image when an Israeli soldier is standing with the civilians behind him and the terrorists are grabbing children as human shields. I was once shot at from a school when I was in basic training. Do you know what you do when you're being shot at from a school? Nothing. You find a pile of dirt, you duck, and you take cover. I'm not going to shoot back at a school. I might kill kids. We were very fortunate that the terrorists were not so clever, so a couple of days later, they were firing at us at midnight. And we said, hold on, there's no school at midnight. So we eventually fired back. But the scenarios are impossible, just impossible scenarios. Now here's my question. If you're launching a rocket in the middle of the night, why are you surrounding yourself with a couple of children? When I'm on the Israeli side using night goggles, and I don't know if you ever use night goggles, you see it in kind of black and green, and you see 4 characters about to launch a rocket at an elderly home in Israel. You're going to launch a rocket at the rocket launcher before they launch a rocket. Why would you have 3 or 4 kids next to you? What is the purpose of this? So sometimes when people criticize Israel, I say, you need to understand the picture. Yes, we're doing great. I'm not going to apologize for this. Yes, we have very few casualties. Not going to apologize for this. We're strong and we have the moral high ground. I want to thank you very much for listening and opening it for questions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
At this time, we're going to take questions from you. So if any of you have a question, I'll hand you a mic. And anyone have a question here for Ron? Yeah, go ahead.
Ron, thank you for coming and talking to everyone. My question is at the UC Davis incident. It went on for some time, right? Didn't that last for half an hour or more?
Yes.
Where was university security?
Well, it's a very good question. Thank you for asking this. The security were told to not interfere, and if it goes out of hand, to cancel the event. It's called free speech, unless you're pro-Israel.
Yeah, in line to that same thing, what kind of help can we give in the event that you do these type of things on campuses where we might be able to be present as well? Would there be issues there, or would we be able to help in that situation?
All right, thank you very much for this question. I'm a big supporter of Stand With Us. That's why I put my life on hold to volunteer with them. I think they provide wonderful education material, and I think that that's the answer, education. I try to answer with a smile. You know, I can deal with terrorists when I go back to Israel, and here I'm dealing with college students, and they're just ignorant. Because if they'll know some basic facts, like Hamas says kill all the Jews, not just the Jews by the way, but kill all the Jews from in Israel, I think it gives a different perspective. And how to help? Educate. Education, education, education. I really recommend using the materials from Stand With Us and have a good cooperation with them, and do it with a smile. I'm offended, but I'm not mad, because these people are just, like I said, ignorant.
I'd like to thank you on so many levels for coming and representing Israel in the way that we all know Israel is. Are there more like you to come and do this? And if so, who are they and how can we support them?
All right, thank you very much. The Shlichim program in Stand With Us, right now you have 2 Shlichim. Shlichim is emissaries. I'm a man on a mission. I'm happy to come here, but I also put my life on hold. It's a problem. You know, I'm a young person, I want to get married soon. Kind of think that's going to happen in Israel. I need to go back and find the girl there. I'm currently getting my master's in business. Don't tell my teachers, I'm skipping school to be here. And I'm also not working, and I'm a lawyer in Israel. So, you know, it's a problem to find people who are. So the Stand With Us fellowship in Israel, out of about 1,500 people, only 150 are accepted to the program, and they educate us, because unfortunately, and I say this, it's very sad for me to say, Israel is not amazing with PR. There's a big difference between what is happening and what the world thinks. Maybe it's because of language barrier, maybe it's because of the Israeli, I don't know. So you try and train the younger generation. So you have to have someone who's after the army and he's getting his degree, either undergrad or graduate, and then you train them, and then they say, who's willing to go and volunteer and put your life on hold for a couple of months? So right now you have 2 people like me in Israel. But the good news are that most of Americans are supportive of Israel. We have the same values, Judeo-Christian values. They do like Israel. It's mainly in the Pacific Northwest area. Mainly in this area. That's why the 2 Israeli shlichim, one, that's me, I'm here, and the other is in the southwest. But that's trying to cover the west coast. Another way to help is try to set up events where I'll come and I'll speak. Because again, I won the argument once I'm there. I just need to be there. Hi, I'm not a monster, I'm a person. I already won the other side. It says that I am a monster. So that will be another way to help. When we do have people coming here, schedule, I came here, I want to work. I want to meet as many people as possible. I meet with groups of 5 people, and I meet with groups of hundreds of people. I just want to talk to as many people as possible, spread the light around this darkness. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my question. What are your thoughts on the relationship with our government and your government? Do you feel that it's strong enough to where we would support the nation of Israel if we needed to?
Okay, it's a very good question. I'll tell you my answer, and I think every Israeli should say the same thing. It doesn't matter to that extent who's the president because. And of course it matters, but most of Americans are supportive of Israel. Most of the Congress is supportive of Israel. So personal relationship can matter and personal policies can matter. But I think that, I still think that at the hardcore, because we have the same vision of life. Israel is the forefront of democracy. The United States helps Israel a lot, especially with military funding. But 80% of that funding goes back to America to buy military aid, which provides jobs for tens of thousands of Americans. So the connection is so strong, intelligence connection and army connection, that we will, I believe, and I really hope so, that we will always be together. We have to. It's like us against the world. And I'm very happy and proud to say that America is, the strongest friend for Israel. We have ups and downs like any relationship, but I think it's solid enough to continue in this line no matter what. I think if there's enough pressure from the people to say we have Israel's back, then it's okay. Then it's okay. It doesn't matter who's the president. We can always manage.
What I'd like to add two quick questions. And one is, have you tried to, do you leave a video or something like for YouTube, or have you tried to do something in the media here so that it's continuous? And the second question is, what kind of support do you get from the Orthodox Jewish community? Okay, so the first question is easier. Yes, I post this video and other videos. We have a group called Israeli Soldiers Speak Out. We share our stories. Here's my face. If you want to accuse me of anything, you can go and you can do it, and we're willing to talk. So we do video that, and today with YouTube and Facebook, we're trying to use all of the media. In Israel, basically, it's very less shades of gray. Either you're secular or religious. Now, secular in Israel doesn't mean that you don't believe in God. It just means that you're not observant as a Jewish person. So inside Israel, in the Orthodox community, about 7% are ultra-Orthodox. This is what you would describe as black hats, beard, and a coat. Orthodox is kind of like me, with a kippah, with a yarmulke. That's about 14% of Israel. Now, inside the ultra-Orthodox community, you have a very tiny minority that is very anti-Israel. It's a small minority. We're talking about a few thousands. The Orthodox community is usually 99% of it are very, very supportive of Israel. So that is how I would describe it. In my perspective, the Jewish community in Seattle is very spread out. They're not one strong community and that's their cause. But for the high school, the Orthodox high school in Seattle, they run programs that are pro-Israel. So I think that they do have a stronger sense of connection. And I think, I have these Jewish prayer books. I pray 3 times a day. You cannot pray and not talk, well, I'm talking about Israel, I'm hoping for the safety of Israel. So if you do that, doesn't matter where you are, you're more pro-Israel. I hope that answered the question.
That video you showed of the UC Davis event, I did see that, and it wasn't on YouTube. It was on some of the alternative media, as we call it in this country. They are not popular with ABC, NBC, and stuff like that. Have you reached out to any of them to try to spread your message? Because I think they'd be very receptive and very amenable to helping you get this message out. It needs to be gotten out. People need to understand Israel isn't the bad guy here. It is the Arabs that want to destroy until they finally get it through their head that their children are worth more than a piece of rock.
Well, first of all, no, I did not know about the other group. I thank you for saying this, and I will stay here after this, and any idea and any connection, I'm here to work, and I would love to use any media that I can to send my message. Again, just trying to spread light. So I appreciate that, and I'll try to do that.
Have you gotten a report back on the supposedly million people march against Jerusalem last week or a few days ago?
There was a march to Jerusalem. About 2 million people wanted to march into Jerusalem. Just so we'll get a proportion, that's like saying 50 million people want to march to DC. So what happened with that? Well, pretty much what I expected it will happen. We can defend our borders. I'm not really worried about that. There was one dead protest and 30-something that were injured because they're jumping on the fence and trying to penetrate my country. I'm not worried about my safety from that. I do worry about Iran, but besides that, I'm pretty much okay with the situation because I'm strong. And I have a country and I have an army and I can defend myself. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about Seattle. I can fight terrorists. I know how to use my M16. I'm good with this. What I cannot fight is lies. I need help to fight with the lies. People marching into Israel, I can deal with it. Oh, okay, thank you.
I was just appalled to hear you say that the rejection of Israel and all the protests are mostly in the Pacific Northwest more than other parts of the country. I mean, maybe I'm very naive, but I find that hard to understand. And is there more concentration of the Palestinian type movement here that is being sent here? Is money being spent to stir this up here? Why do you think?
Okay, well, I don't have the answer. I can give you my opinion.
Okay.
First of all, some of the anti-Israel, there are different reasons to hate Israel. A small percent of it is maybe anti-Semitism. They change it into, I'm not anti-Semite, I just hate Israel. And if all the Jews in Israel will die, then that's good. Another percent of it is Muslim or Arab propaganda. It's not all of it, but it's also a percent of it. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to shove that agenda. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest issue is ignorance. And I don't know if it's because of the geographical distance or because of the fact that there's a very tiny Jewish community here to combat that, but it has grown here. Also, we're close to Olympia, where Rachel Corrie is from. I don't know if you know the story of Rachel Corrie. And the BDS movement, which is a peaceful organization that calls to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, as if we are Iran, has a lot of power there. And they spread all this information. And I think that unfortunately today we live in a world of sound bites. I've noticed that the younger generation, they have like a 10-second attention span. Give me the information, I read the title, Israel's bad, okay, Israel is bad. I've noticed that the more educated you are and the older you are, the more you take things, not for granted. You go into depth and you're more supportive of Israel. I've also noticed that most of the people who support Israel, Jews and non-Jews alike, have been to Israel. And the people who don't like Israel probably wouldn't be able to point it on a map. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons why specifically here, it's far away, there's some different groups that's trying to pull different streams, and people just don't know anything better, and they don't really care, which kind of makes sense, because I love Israel, I think it's the center of the universe, but my country is the size of Jersey. So if you're an average American teenager, you want to listen to, I don't know, Justin Bieber and play with your iPhone, and you don't really care about someone else's conflict, especially if you don't know the Bible and you don't have this information.
Thank you.
That's my answer. I don't know if it's the answer, but it's my answer.
Good enough for me.
The perception of looking at the protesters is that you've got a lot of very young, very vocal males. But the left and liberal-leaning aspects of this country, and especially the Pacific Northwest, are very feminine. And I'm wondering, would not the women on the liberal left and with their ideology be more inclined to support a strong democratic society that allows for the equal development of women as opposed to their opposition that would lean more towards the suppression of women in their expression, in burqas and Sharia and all the rest of that? Where are the women on the left?
Well, thank you very much for asking this. I'm going to use that opportunity to say, in Israel, we had a female prime minister in the 70s. Our former spokesperson of the Israeli parliament was female. Our former head of the Supreme Court was female. So yes, I definitely think that if you are that, then you should support Israel. Unfortunately, I definitely, not in this video, but because it was like 30 minutes of people heckling me, there were a lot of women that were heckling me, young girls, and in Berkeley, unfortunately, young Jewish girls who said, I don't talk to you, you're from Israel. I'm Jewish, I know what is going on in Israel. I don't talk to you. And I said, you know nothing about me, just hi, how are you? I'm not speaking to Israelis in the name of liberal values. I don't know, words here, words have different meanings. I noticed that sometimes people say peace, liberal, justice, and the words are great, but what do you mean when you say this? Because if you say peace and you say kill all the Jews in Israel, I don't think you'll have peace. You'll have inner combats with the different parties in the Palestinian territory, but that's not peace for me. When you say justice and you say, attack Israel, that's not justice. So unfortunately, with what I've encountered, actually I would say that the women are they're in the front line of the anti-Israel movement. And I do not know why that is. I do not know. My logic is exactly like your logic. I hope, again, that it's just lack of information. But for what I've encountered, the women lead the protests. They have the loudest voices, and with just something that's a little bit twisted, they're supporting, instead of the forefront of democracy, Hamas.
Can we give Ron a big hand?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Amen. We love Israel here, don't we? And we know it's the God of Israel that protects them. Amen. At this time, I'd like to have Rob Jacobs come back up. He has some things that are very important that he'd like to share with you as well.
Thank you. Sort of tongue-tied here. Thank you. I mean, this is amazing. I'm sort of pitching cleanup here. There were a lot of little things that I wanted to bring up, and they may not be in the best order, but one of the things that was mentioned, if you want to see videos of Ron and many of the other Israeli soldiers who've been working with Stand With Us, you can click on the faces of many, I think it's something like 20 or so soldiers who each have given a short statement about their own experience in combat, showing a side that's not seen often enough in the media about how they took extraordinary efforts to protect civilians and the kinds of experiences they had in the militaries. Another thing, I realized after I got done that I did a sort of, if you'll pardon the phrase, a sort of cardinal sin, in that for a nonprofit regional director, I didn't tell you anything about my organization. And so in just a few short words, first of all, there's a ton of material in the back table over here. We hope that we don't have to take any of it with us when we go, so please take everything you want and anything that you think you can share with people. There's a pamphlet in there about Stand With Us. For those of you who don't know us, we've been in the Northwest for 4 years now. The organization started about 11 years ago in Los Angeles. It was the result of a couple of people, my boss, Roz Rothstein, who is our national director, seeing in the Los Angeles Times on the front page an image like you saw here of a bus being blown up. And then with civilian casualties, etc. And then on the editorial page of the paper on that same day, a condemnation of Israel. And she said, there's something wrong here, and she brought a number of community leaders together in Los Angeles, and Stand With Us started and has evolved to the point now that we have 14 offices around the United States and Jerusalem, London, Paris as well. What you can do to help us find speaking opportunities for Ron. And the question about next year, we are going to have another shaliach. And one of the problems that we have, and Ron faced this, and our previous shaliach faced it, is when they arrive after we work through giving them some sense of what the Pacific Northwest is, it takes a while for us to get the schools lined up, the churches lined up, to hear them. And we're a small office in the Northwest. There are really, when Ran's not here, there are going to be just 2 of us in the Northwest office. And it would be incredible to have a group of people who next year are available to help call schools. And we put a list together and we send out an email to schools all over the Northwest, but there needs to be follow-up and somebody who can talk to them and explain what the program is, and it would be such a big help to have volunteers for that. Also, we have a letter writing group. If anybody is particularly interested in letter writing, when we send you an email this week after you sign up, if you're interested in letter writing, let us know. We have a group of people that write letters in response to articles and editorials in the newspapers, and we'd love to expand that. On occasion, when there's something large, it hasn't happened in the last year or so, but for example, the Gaza cast lead incursion after years of missiles being fired from Gaza into the surrounding Israeli communities. We had a rally here in the community, and we would let you know, and any presence, to show community support would be wonderful. We had, at that point, about 1,000 people. A few years before, we had a rally on Mercer Island, and I believe a number of people from El Shaddai were there. And that's a huge help. Finally, I just want to say that are there any lawyers here? It's actually a serious question. Are there any lawyers here, or anybody who knows lawyers? We have a speaker coming in on May 1st. Her name is Nitzana Darshan-Leitner. And Nitzana founded an organization called Shorat Hadin. And what it is basically is an organization that uses the law and brings lawsuits against organizations that support terrorism, and has been very effective at stopping and discouraging banks and other commercial establishments that have made a profit by selling to Palestinians, or organizations, even governmental organizations in various countries that have supported terrorism. And she's going to be speaking here. We'll be sending out notices again. If you sign up, you'll see notices of this. But for lawyers, you actually get continuing legal education credit for it. So if any lawyers are interested, it'll be in Seattle. It'll be at lunchtime on the 1st of May. And with that, I just seriously want to ask you to please take materials, please sign up, and keep doing the amazing things you're doing, because it is such a breath of fresh air to be here today. Thank you.
Hey, Rob, do you want to say something about Kietzel's Deli in Olympia?
I'm sorry?
Did you want to say something about the deli shop in Olympia?
Oh, yes, please, please, please. The location that hosted Ran is a new delicatessen called Kietzel's Deli in Olympia. And because Ran spoke there, they have started a quiet boycott of the deli. Many people are not going there. Word of mouth is very negative because they have taken a speaker that came from Stand With Us. We've been described as a right-wing, militaristic, homophobic, Islamophobic, racist organization, and anybody who would have a speaker from us should not be, the store or the institution or the restaurant in this case should not be frequented. And she's lost more than half her business, and she had to lay off a bunch of her staff. I think she said half of her staff. She's only been in operation for 3 months, so this kind of thing really hurts, and she took an amazing step, because in Olympia, it's almost impossible to find a location that will welcome a pro-Israeli speaker. And she did an amazing job, and she's getting hurt for it. And if any of you have the chance to go to downtown Olympia, if you're driving past it, if you make a trip, buy up deli food, go down there and tell her why you're there and that you support her, because they really need it, and we need to make a stand against people who would damage people who just want to allow others to hear the truth. Thank you.
All right, let's give Rob a big hand here. Thank you. You're a blessing. Go about your step. Thank you very much. Pretty amazing, isn't it? a lot of this we don't know. And I think it comes down to what Stand With Us is all about. It's education, education, education. People need to know these things. And it even goes into the school books. You know, I feel for the Palestinian kids, what they're being taught in their schools. And when you're raised that way, you can't help but have this mindset. And so the greatest thing that we can do is get involved. You know, call, like they said, if you have an email blast, call the senators, call the congressman, or whatever, however you can help. We really want to be joined at the hip with Stand With Us Northwest and help you in any way we can to fight the image of the Northwest being the most anti-Semitic area of the United States. So are you guys willing to stand with us? All right, fantastic. Well, please do avail yourselves of their literature, of our literature, and let's just stand for a moment and let's just close with prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we just thank you so much for everything that you are doing and for this coming Pesach week. Father, we just pray that this coming week there would not be any terrorist attacks in Israel, or the enemy might take advantage of the feast. Father, we just pray for the protection of your people. We pray for the safety of all of the civilians and the military that are over there in Israel. We just lift them up to you, and we lift the politicians up to you. And we just pray, Father, that they would make wise decisions, that even though they keep the moral high ground, Father, that in making those right decisions, we just pray that your hand would be in all of this. And we just commit everything to you. Amen. Thank you very much. If you have any questions regarding the material discussed, please contact me at my email address. It's pastormark@elshaddaiministries.us. Be blessed and shalom.